Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis, and we're going early today because there's so much news breaking. I couldn't believe all the different things that are taking place today. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Wednesday. I'm going early today because there's so many news stories out there already, and because I'm going to go with my boys to the swimming pool. I'm down at the beach for this week and next week as well, getting ready for Memorial Day weekend. Yes, I am early today. Usually I go at 3 o'clock Eastern-ish, although a little bit late yesterday. I'm early today. Got to keep your notifications turned on. You never know when I'm going to pop into your life. And this is even better because I'm coming to you earlier than normal, so you have more time to consume the show. I am Clay Travis. We are brought to you by sportsbookreview.com. I want to encourage you to all go to sportsbookreview.com and make sure that you are chasing the best possible number wherever you're betting, whether it's Game 7 tonight with the Caps going on the road against the Tampa Bay Lightning, or whether it's the Cavs going on the road against the Boston Celtics. Much to discuss, and we will get to that right now. Let me tell you all about it. The NFL has officially revised its anthem policy. We'll discuss it. The Rockets get a big win over the Warriors that I never saw coming. The UFC is going to ESPN for $300 million a year, $1.5 billion overall. Comcast has officially let it be known that they are contemplating a bid for all of the Fox assets that Disney has bought. And our good friend Sean King, a.k.a. Talcum X, accused a Texas state trooper of raping and kidnapping a black woman and shared his name online, led to an inordinate amount of threats. I don't know why Twitter hasn't taken action, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Peter Thiel Sean King. I am offering to put together the greatest team of legal representatives that have ever been known to man to sue Sean King into bankruptcy for falsely accusing this honorable Texas state trooper of being both a rapist and a kidnapper. I will talk about that more at the end of the show, but many of you watch and listen to this show in Texas. I'm sure that we are likely to have a substantial audience today for this. I encourage you, if you know this Texas state trooper, if you know anyone who knows him, share my contact information. I'm not kidding about this. I will put together the best legal team known to man, and we will sue Sean King into bankruptcy and obliterate him, because I think he is everything that's wrong with American life today. And I believe that falsely accusing a honorable Texas state trooper of both sexual assault and kidnapping is everything that's wrong with the way that social media works today. So I will end him. I will end him as a legitimate source in any way. And I would encourage anyone out there who knows this individual, this Texas state trooper, to reach out to me. I will put together the best legal team known to man, and I will end Sean King. We will bankrupt him over his false accusations about this Texas state trooper. I would encourage all of you, again, if you know him, to put me in contact, but we will talk with that about that at the end. I want to start also by telling you guys, look, I know credit card debt can be a problem. If you've got credit card debt right now, my guy Ryan Kelly at the Home Loan Expert nationwide, he can take care of you. Home values are surging. I saw in my hometown in Nashville that the average home went up 10% in the last year. If you own a home, you likely have equity in that home. You should never have credit card debt if you own your home. Roll out your credit card debt, wipe it out in one fell swoop, get a purchase, new mortgage, and get your credit card debt wiped out. My guy, Ryan Kelly, can take care of you. It's nothing wrong with having credit card debt. Everybody has expenses they don't anticipate. But if you already have done the hard work of buying a home, take advantage of your equity in your home, change that 20% interest rate for a 4% interest rate. Let my guy, Ryan Kelly, at the Home Loan Expert take care of you. Tell him Clay Travis and Outkick told you to reach out. They'll take care of you extra quick. Guy yesterday said they reached out within an hour. He had gotten a phone call. Go to thehomeloanexpert.com. Going to save him a lot of money. Somebody just tweeted me that yesterday, literally. All right. Let's talk about the NFL's anthem policy. I've been straightforward on this. I'm putting on my legal hat now, and I have made this argument for a long time, but I think it's an important one. You don't have a First Amendment right to share your political beliefs while you are in uniform at your job. That goes whether you are a FedEx employee, whether you work at McDonald's, whether you work at Walmart. You don't have a right, if somebody is ordering a Big Mac, to say that you're a vegan and suggest that they not order a Big Mac. If you did that at McDonald's, you would be fired in uniform at your job. If you work at FedEx and you delivered a package wearing a Make America Great Again hat, you would get fired at FedEx. There is no reason whatsoever for there ever to be any at all politics on the job when your job is politics free. This has been my position on the NFL for a long time. Since Colin Kaepernick took a knee, NFL ratings have declined 20%. The NBA ratings are up during that time. College football ratings for the big games are up during that time. It's an illusion that sports are under siege when it comes to ratings. Only the NFL has been. So my position on this has been straightforward. If your boss tells you to stand for the national anthem, then you stand for the national anthem. If my boss at Fox Sports Radio, my show that's on from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern every morning, if my boss told me, hey, Clay Travis, I need you to stand for the national anthem while we play the national anthem before your show, because we believe it will increase ratings and increase revenue, do you know what I would do? I would play the national anthem before my radio show started, because my boss would have told me to do that. If I refused to do it, do you know what would happen? Eventually, I would get fired, okay? The new policy is straightforward. If you want to kneel for the national anthem, you don't have that right anymore. You stand for the national anthem on the field. If you don't want to stand for the national anthem, then you stay in the locker room. This is, I think, an unnecessary compromise. If I were an owner, I would have said this. We play the national anthem, and you are going to stand for it, just like the NBA players do. This is what I would ask you to do. For everybody out there in the left-wing sports media that you see criticizing the NFL, I want you to point out, how come you've never had an issue with the NBA requiring every player to stand for the national anthem? The other analogy I would share here is this. There is a difference between being politically outspoken outside of your uniform and outside of the time when you were on the court or field to play a game and everything else. Okay? So, nobody has held it against Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich and LeBron James and countless other NBA players that they have decided they need to speak out and share their political opinions. I think it's bad business because there's a reason why Michael Jordan still, to this day, sells more sneakers than every current NBA player. It's because Republicans buy sneakers too. And because people come to sports to escape politics. This is my belief. They don't come to be hit over the head with politics all day long, mixing sports and politics, as you heard me last week saying, when the Nashville Predators decided to endorse a mayoral candidate, is an awful idea. 96% of you, 25,000 of you voted in my poll, 96% of you disagreed with the Nashville Predators deciding to endorse a political candidate. That's because for the vast majority of the American sporting fan base, we come to sports to escape the real world. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, the national anthem is very political. I don't agree with you, okay? Recently, I think it's a unifying force for the country at large. I don't necessarily think it makes sense, but it's a tradition. And guess what? I'm not an NFL owner. If I were an NFL owner, I would have argued years ago, it seems weird to me to play a national anthem before an entertainment event. But fans tend to expect it, and fans tend to respect it, and it helps revenue overall. So, for the same reason that I think it's a little bit ridiculous to have airplanes fly over the stadium, like who is actually impressed that an airplane can fly over a stadium? Yet all around me, every time an airplane flies over, people are like, America, fuck yeah. Did you see that jet that just flew over the top of the stadium? I always think this is really strange. Why do we need for a jet to fly over the top of the stadium and have people go crazy? But they do. And everybody who is in the business of making money does something that I think is important. They do something that makes it more likely that they're going to make more money. So for everybody out there who is upset about the national anthem, I would say this. The NBA is doing it, and it hasn't been remotely controversial. The NFL is doing it because they believe it's good for business. I think they are correct that it's good for business. I think that ratings are down because that the ratings have suffered. Yes, pre-2011, 2001, people weren't on the field. That's fine, okay? If you disagree, start your own football league and don't have players stand for the national anthem. That's the great thing about America. If you think somebody is making a bad business decision, then capitalism gives you the opportunity to create another competing product, okay? If you think that standing for the national anthem is bad for business and doesn't make any sense, then start your own football league. That's the great thing about capitalism. I started my own website because I thought other people were doing a shitty job. And guess what? It made me a multimillionaire. That's why I'm doing this show from my Roseberry Beach house right now, because I made a lot of money by starting my own business. That's what capitalism provides you the opportunity to do. I made way more money doing that than I would have ever writing at ESPN or Fox or CBS or anywhere else, okay? That's the truth, all right? If you believe that there is an opportunity to make more money doing something that somebody else who's in business is doing, then do it, all right? That's the great thing about capitalism. You don't have the right. Here's the problem. People don't understand the First Amendment in this country. I'm going to put my lawyer hat on for you right now. I already said you'd be fired if you were at FedEx and you consistently wore a Make America Great Again hat. I already told you that if you were at McDonald's and you suggested to somebody who ordered a Big Mac that they should be vegan instead, you would get fired. If at Walmart, regardless of what you said at the checkout line, if when somebody was showing up to buy Diet Dr. Pepper, you rung them up and you said either abortion is murder or I believe that that every woman should have the right to choose whether or not to carry her baby, if you kept doing that, you would get fired, okay? People come to sports for no politics at all. That doesn't even consider that Colin Kaepernick's protest made no sense. It's going to be talked about a lot in my new book. But basically, Colin Kaepernick was protesting, demanding the federal government already do something that they were doing, which was investigate police shootings to ensure that minorities were not being shot and that the officers were not getting away with murder. Barack Obama was already doing that. Loretta Lynch was already doing that. The head of the United States government was black. The head of the United States Justice Department was a black woman. They were already doing exactly what Colin Kaepernick was requesting that they do when he started his illegitimate, illogical, and frankly, not very intelligently defended protest, all right? He protested the national anthem. And what I would say about the First Amendment is this. If you're out there screaming about First Amendment values, imagine what your response would be if Colin Kaepernick had taken a knee to protest gay marriage being legal. Imagine what your response would be to that. If you are defending Colin Kaepernick now, San Francisco would have, the same people defending Colin Kaepernick to the heavens, high heavens for his First Amendment rights, would have immediately demanded that the San Francisco 49ers cut Colin Kaepernick and not allow him to continue to play. All right? That's the truth. So this idea that you're advocating for First Amendment rights, I'm a First Amendment absolutist. Remember, I'm the guy who went on CNN and said he loved the First Amendment and boobs. The truth of the matter is this. I will defend anything and your right to say it. I just don't think that Colin Kaepernick's protest is very smart, and I certainly, from a labor and employment perspective, don't think he has a legal right to continue. Here's another analogy for you. I just went to see Deadpool 2 last night with my wife. If before we had started Deadpool 2, if the character played by Ryan Reynolds had come out, and right before the movie started, he had taken a knee and he had said, hey, I just want you to know I am 100% opposed to whatever political position you want to have out there. Let's just say that he came out and he said, I'm 100% opposed to Donald Trump being elected president. I would be like, I don't want to see this. I don't want my entertainers, before they take the field and entertain me or go on the film and entertain me, to get involved in politics. If Ryan Reynolds said the same thing on the red carpet going into the Oscars or the Academy Awards or the Golden Globes or anything else, I wouldn't care at all. That's because expectations matter. And that's what I would say is the distinction between the NBA and the NFL. Colin Kaepernick and every other player, through Instagram, through Facebook, through Twitter, through Snapchat, has the ability to be able to make any political argument they want, as long as they do so outside of their uniform, off the field, while they are not expected to play a football game. That's my position on it. I think the NFL owners got it somewhat right. If I were them, I would have been more aggressive and I would have said, hey, you stand for the national anthem or you have to pay a fine. I would have taken it right to the courts. I would have said, you're going to pay a fine and I'm going to donate. Every time you don't stand for the national anthem, you get $50,000 taken out of your paycheck and we're donating it to the Wounded Warriors Fund or some other fund like that. If you really wanted to put them in a bind, you would donate it to the NAACP or the United Negro College Fund, one of the black activist groups, if it's a black activist who's doing it, and then they have to sue to stop from giving money to a black cause, and you've just painted them completely into a corner. But I'm diabolical about this stuff. The government the fan base in general would have been like, oh man, how in the world do we fight this? Can you imagine the NFLPA suing to stop money from going to the United Negro College Fund for black scholarships, or suing to keep the NAACP from getting money? It would have painted them completely into a corner. It 100% would. So I think that would have been an incredible play that they could have taken advantage of. But I don't think Roger Goodell's done a good job as the NFL commissioner. What he should have done the moment that Colin Kaepernick started his protest is announced what was true. You're violating the NFL rules, which mandate that players stand for the national anthem. And as a result, we're going to fine you a substantial sum of money. And we're going to continue to do that as long as you kneel. And then if other players want to do it, you fine them the same way you would fine them for using inappropriate language on the field, for violating touchdown celebrations, for wearing cleats that don't match the NFL's established policy on cleats. This idea that you have free speech completely on the football field is flagrantly absurd. You get fined if you celebrate a touchdown the wrong way. That's an infringement on free speech. Yet free speech is not being infringed on when private employers choose to restrict what you can say. I've said this for a long time, but it's an important distinction. Most people don't understand the First Amendment. The easy way to say this is, when you are an employee, you have the right to drive into your place of work with a bumper sticker on your car. You do not have the right to take that bumper sticker and place it on a sign in the front yard of your employer. In the same way, you could put up a yard sign, probably, unless it violates your HOA, to endorse a political candidate during an election. Okay? And then you can leave that up as long as you want. But you don't have the right to take that yard sign, put it in your car, drive to work, and put it in the front yard of the business. It is bad business, by and large, for any company to get involved in politics. And I think the NFL has seen it's bad business. Now, my position on this in general, and I write about this a lot in the book, is I have no interest in knowing what Steve Kerr thinks about Donald Trump. I have no interest in knowing what Greg Popovich thinks about Donald Trump. I have no interest in knowing what LeBron James thinks about Donald Trump. I think most media who cover those stories are doing it because they agree with the speaker. They agree with Kerr. They agree with Popovich. They agree with LeBron James. But I certainly would acknowledge that the NBA has been smarter about the way they've approached politics than the NFL. And I think that's because David Stern was smart enough to recognize that the national anthem controversy could happen one day. And there hasn't been a controversy in the NBA at all. Every player has stood for the national anthem because they understand that it would undercut any argument they were making if they suddenly started to kneel for the national anthem, and it would impact the overall ratings for the NBA, just as the NFL ratings have been impacted. So I think personally that the NFL is moving in the right direction. I don't think they went far enough. I would have more aggressively said, if you're going to be an NFL player, you have to stand for the national anthem. And yes, the NBA put that rule into place because of the protest of Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who used to be named Chris Jackson, became Muslim. I don't know what he was angry about. Now, let me tell you this story, and I've shared this story before. When I was in high school at Martin Luther King Magnet, one of the kids on my high school soccer team refused to stand for the national anthem. I don't know if they played the national anthem before every game or just the district tournaments or whatever else, but he was Kurdish. He was our goalie, and he not only didn't stand for the national anthem, he turned his back to the national anthem. And I was curious. I was curious about why he was making that decision. And he said, and this was very interesting for me, he said at the time that I was in high school that the Kurdish people were very upset with the United States government because after the war in Iraq, they had encouraged the Kurdish people to rebel against Saddam Hussein. And when they had rebelled against Saddam Hussein, they had been pulled out of Iraq, and the Kurdish people were killed by the thousands by Saddam Hussein. I went and I researched this in high school. It was true to a large extent. That protest made sense. That was something that the United States government had done that directly impacted him and directly impacted the people around him. And he wanted to voice his displeasure by not standing for the national anthem for my own high school soccer games. Now, I wasn't Kurdish. I didn't have that perspective, but I certainly understood it. That is a protest that elucidated a clear goal, which was directed at the United States government. Colin Kaepernick was protesting the United States government for doing something that they were already doing. I don't think he was politically sophisticated enough to understand that when he protested the national anthem, and this is an important point, the United States government under Barack Obama and Loretta Lynch was already doing exactly what he was requesting, which was make sure that people are not getting away with murder. So that is the truth of the matter. That's my position on the national anthem. Are there any questions? I can talk about it from a legal perspective. I can answer any questions that you guys might have, and then we'll move on to the NBA. We will move on to the UFC to ESPN. We'll talk about Comcast bid for Fox, and we'll talk about my friend Sean King, a.k.a. Talcum X. Are there any questions? Any questions from a legal perspective or anybody out there that feels like I didn't address something in the larger context? Anything out there at all? I don't know how the NFLPA is going to respond. It's a good question, the Players Association, because the fines are directed at the teams, not the players. What I think is potentially going to be an issue here, if you think about this on a larger issue, I think the larger issue here is what happens if a player refuses to stay in the locker room to protest the national anthem and insists on coming out all season long and taking a knee for the national anthem. How much are the teams going to be fined? Are the teams going to continue to pay this fine? How will they pay the fine? I think that is that's a larger issue still at play. I think it's insane that the NFL Players Union never combated the two things that I think are crazy. They never combated the player conduct policy that was just randomly inserted by Roger Goodell years ago, which I think was a mistake, the personal conduct policy. And they didn't aggressively combat the domestic violence punishments that were just levied out of nowhere, that Roger Goodell just came in out of nowhere and levied. They didn't aggressively fight that, but they're going to aggressively fight whether players stand for the national anthem. I think it's a bad move. I don't think that many players will stay in the locker room. I really don't. But the wild card here is how much will Donald Trump politicize this decision? Because if he politicizes the decision, I think it's possible that a lot of people could come out. Why is bringing light to injustice or inequality called political? He's not bringing light to anything. That's the thing about Colin Kaepernick. He's an unsophisticated political actor. There's nobody out there who thinks that these stories are being undercover. In fact, the opposite is true. You are more likely to be killed by a bee, by a wasp, or a hornet than you are, if you're an unarmed person, than you are to be killed by a police officer. You are 5 times as likely to be struck and killed by a train as you are to be shot and killed by a police officer if you leave your house unarmed today. It's a fallacy and a flagrant misunderstanding of probability and statistics to believe that police officers are killing people at all. Again, trains are 5 times as likely to kill you if you leave your house unarmed as, ridiculously, police officers are. This is absurd. And again, I just don't think that Colin Kaepernick is that sophisticated. I think he's been under the sway of a guy like Talcum X. I don't think he's that smart, and I don't think he's been able to elucidate in any way a coherent political thought. And protesting the national anthem and the United States flag is the worst possible way to bring allies to your side regardless. All right? If you are truly trying to change something in the world, you need allies. And if you are trying to get allies, then you have an obligation, I think, to try to appeal to as many people as you possibly can. When you immediately kneel for the national anthem and refuse to stand for the anthem, you have alienated far more people than you have brought to your side. I think, and I write this in my book, there's a strong argument to be made that the protest of Colin Kaepernick actually won Donald Trump the election and led to Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General. I really believe that. I think there are 42,000 people-ish who made their decision in Michigan, who made their decision in Pennsylvania, who made their decision in Wisconsin to flip their vote from Barack Obama in 2012 to Donald Trump in 2016 because of the Colin Kaepernick protest and the way that was covered. I think a lot of people looked at it and said, something is wrong in this country. Something is wrong with the way this country is going when football has become this intensely politicized. Remember, Donald Trump won those 3 states combined by around 75,000 total votes. All it would take is about 42,502 in order to flip that election completely. I think if Colin Kaepernick never protested, I mean this 100%, you look at the data, I think Hillary Clinton would be the president of the United States right now. I think not only did Colin Kaepernick not advance his cause and actually diminish the things that he claims to have cared about, I think he actually got Hillary Clinton elected and helped to ensure that Donald Trump won the states of Michigan Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. I really do think that that's true. Again, it only took 42,000 people. Just think about it your own self. Do you believe that half of a Big Ten football stadium could have changed their opinions of the country's direction based on Colin Kaepernick? I think there's a very good chance of that happening. All right, Rockets got a big win last night. Rockets came out of nowhere. I did not see this game happening. I went to see Deadpool 2 last night. I watched the beginning of the game. I got done about 6 minutes left in the third quarter. I was going to take Friday off for a long Memorial Day weekend. So the only people more angry about the Rockets winning than me are Golden State fans, players, and administration. I was really upset about this. I was going to take Friday off because I expected Golden State to go up 3-1, basically for that series to go to be done. Now we got a big Game 5 happening on Thursday night. I'll have to go in on Friday. I'll have to get up at 4:15 in the morning. I got to be honest with you. I was not happy about the Rockets winning. I still think the Warriors are going to go on and win. I think it was phenomenal for the NBA that the Rockets won this game. I think this is the biggest upset we have seen in the NBA playoffs in a long time, probably since Draymond Green got suspended for his ball kicks and his insults and cost the Warriors the title 2 years ago. I think this was big. Now, I still think the Warriors are going to win games 5 and 6. I still do. But, man, that fourth quarter, they were awful. 3 for 18 from the field, 11 straight missed threes. They didn't run good offense. They got an awful look at the basket. I still think Chris Paul should have missed the free throw there at the end. I think he blew it when he shot that free throw and made it. Steph Curry got a really good look at 3. Whether or not it was off in time would have been a huge debate. But the Rockets win. We're on to a 2-2 situation there. All right, UFC. I am utterly fascinated by this. I have told you to buy WWE stock for a long time. Comcast has half the WWE now. They have WWE Raw. The other part of the WWE, SmackDown, is evidently moving to Fox on Fridays. Will be 3 hours. I think this is an amazing story. The UFC thought that there were going to be a ton of people lining up to bid on them, and Fox gave them the Heisman at the last minute. Choose to take the money that they were spending on the UFC and instead put that money onto the WWE, and the UFC is left there, goes to ESPN. And I've been told this for a long time, guys, by people in our industry, that there was long a belief, both in the UFC and outside of it, that Disney would never get in bed with the UFC because it was too bloody, it was too violent. The disconnect between Mickey Mouse and a rear naked chokeout, all the blood on the mat, everything else was too extreme. But I think this is a sign of how desperate ESPN is to stay relevant. I think it's a smart play by Jimmy Pitaro to put $150 million into ESPN Plus, $150 million into the UFC, and cross his fingers and pray that either Conor McGregor can come back as a big-time force in UFC, or that a new Ronda Rousey can be developed, or that new superstars can arise. When William Morris Endeavor spent $4 billion for the UFC, the bet they were making was that Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, John Bones Jones, and Brock Lesnar, that they were not outliers, that the UFC was going to be able to consistently produce champions. Ronda Rousey now is fascinating, as is Lesnar, because they've both gone to the WWE, and Vince McMahon and the WWE are better able to use their brands, because guess what? They can control the outcome. Holly Holm doesn't show up and kick somebody's ass, and as a result, kill Ronda Rousey's marketability and kill tens of millions of dollars in UFC future pay-per-view events. Vince McMahon and the geniuses at the WWE can set it up so that they are guaranteed to get the best possible matchup in the years ahead. So I think this is an interesting wager. I asked the question this morning during our Outkick the Coverage radio show, would you rather buy WWE or UFC stock right now? 64% of you chose the WWE as the better buy right now. But Disney getting in bed with the UFC, there's still the question out there, is there going to be an ability, and I think it's a good question, is there going to be an ability for the NFL to get that Monday Night Football gig from ESPN again? I don't know that ESPN is going to have the money because of their declining subscriber base and their overall cost structure fails. So we'll see on that. By the way, speaking of the NFL, I didn't mention this off the top. Nashville gets the NFL draft. I'm excited about this as a Nashville native, born and raised. I am thrilled by this. I own part of a bar on Broadway, Paradise Park, right down from Bridgestone Arena. We are going to have one hell of a rooftop party there. I cannot wait for the NFL draft to be there next year. Congrats to the city of Nashville. If you're thinking about coming in, I'd encourage you to do so. It's going to be a hell of a party. My boys are excited, 10, 7, and 3. The 10 and 7-year-olds are already plotting the fact that they're going to be able to go downtown and hopefully get their pictures taken with some of the draft picks. I think it's going to be phenomenal. So congrats to the NFL for making the right decision there, even if I don't think they made 100% the right decision on the anthem. Okay, a couple of other additional stories. Comcast has made its bid for Fox known, and I think this is going to be a really big deal. I think that this is going to be a big deal with Comcast coming in and bidding for Fox. This is going to be a battle royale, the likes of which we have not seen in recent history. If you're not familiar with this story, I've talked about it a decent amount, written about it. Comcast is now letting it known, basically, that they are going to make an all-cash bid for the Fox assets that Disney believed they were going to purchase. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it's going to be an epic battle. Comcast is officially, basically, going to take their argument for what should happen to the shareholders and argue with Disney, hey, we need, argue with the shareholders, we need $60 billion. Do you want cash or do you want share value? If you look at the shares that Disney offered, they've declined about 10% since that offer was made, meaning this Comcast bid is about 20% more than what Disney has offered for the same asset so far. Boy, I don't know what's going to end up happening, but I am utterly fascinated. If you like sports, if you like media, if you like business, you need to be following this story. Set your alerts for it. This morning, official news that Comcast, which owns NBC, which owns Universal Studios, all these other different conglomerates, is going to be making a move. And I'll answer any questions about that. It's interesting how this will all play out. Finally, and I want to reiterate this, I said it off the top of the show, Sean King, a.k.a. Talcum X, a.k.a. Martin Luther Cream, this fake race-baiting white guy on social media who has, I think, done a great deal to divide our nation by fomenting racial angst, even when it's not accurate, falsely accused a white Texas state trooper of rape and of kidnapping of a black woman. They reviewed all of the video from his security, from his camera. It's 100% made up. It is a 100% lie. And I want to reiterate this again. One of you out there who will watch this, tens of thousands of you will watch this show today. One of you out there from the Dallas area will know this state trooper. I want to represent him in a lawsuit that will break the Sean Kings of the world. I want to bankrupt Talcum X, Peter Thiel going against Gawker style. I will put together the best conglomeration of attorneys you have ever seen, and I will break Talcum X. I will bankrupt him. I will bankrupt everyone connected with him. If you know this state trooper, I would encourage you to have him reach out to me, claytravis@gmail.com. I think he was wronged. I think what Talcum X did is what's wrong with social media today. I think it's time that reasonable people fight back against the dividers of our country and send a message that we won't stand for it anymore. So wherever you are, if you know this state trooper, have him reach out to me, claytravis@gmail.com. I will put together a blue ribbon legal team to represent him for free in an effort to bankrupt Sean King and hold divisive forces in this country responsible for the lies they distribute. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. If you enjoy the show, share it with your friends. I'm on every afternoon. I do the morning show every single day, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. You can hear it 300 stations, AM, FM, satellite radio, and all 50 states. Appreciate you starting your day with me. I hope you enjoy this afternoon show. Go get your betting odds at sportsbookreview.com. And if you got credit card debt, wipe it out through your home equity line. Get a brand new mortgage. Get a 4% rate instead of a 20% rate at thehomeloanexpert.com. All right, I'm off to the pool down here in the beach. Love all of you guys. Enjoy Game 5 tonight. I haven't even decided which way I'm going to bet, but I can't wait to see what ends up transpiring in LeBron versus the Celtics. Cavs versus Celtics, Game 5. Love you guys. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. DBAP, boys and girls. If you don't know what that means, it's pretty simple. My life mantra, don't be a pussy. See y'all tomorrow. This has been Outkick the Show.